started already. Looks like we're live. If you pull it up on your phone, it might screw up.
All right.
Actually, one of us should have it up. You want to have it up?
Sure.
All right, it looks like we're live. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing well. It's been a crazy morning. It's been a crazy week. Running around, busy, and yet still figure out how to make this happen.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I know it was late notice. He texted me at like 8:30. Like, yeah, I can try to be there. Noel had to go to the store.
Yeah.
And Claire was just getting up, so yeah, it was a busy morning.
It's all good. It's weird, having two daughters now, and stuff with Young Life over the summer is either really, really slow. However, this week has been really, really busy because we leave for Young Life camp in a couple of days. So
I didn't know you had that in a couple
that'll be
days.
fun. Yeah. So I leave for that on Tuesday or whatever, and then so that just makes like prep time.
Yeah, I'm sure that's busy.
It's busy, and then we're going to Annapolis this weekend, right before I leave.
You're gone like every weekend. You're somewhere every weekend.
Yeah, it's a lot. So busy.
All right. Well, yeah, we're at the coach's office. We're in the coach's office, and this is also the coach's office podcast. That's funny.
Right.
So that's why we named it that. But anyways, we're here. We wanted to respond to a few things and talk about. We wanted to speculate today.
Let's do it.
We're going to speculate because I hate speculating, and I always get asked to speculate on things, and I don't like speculating on things. So
this would be great. Then
we're going to try.
I'm excited. 40 minutes, 50 minutes of speculation.
We'll see. Maybe we can make it less because I know we got to train here around 10:15, so it's 9:40 right now.
All right, let's go quick then.
All right. So, no pressure. So saw a couple articles about the women's field.
Yeah.
And I think a few people put up some articles talking about different contenders and different who they think's going to win. So
how do you think those people are choosing to speculate, or like where are they coming up with their hot take? Do you think? Good
question. I was going to ask you the same thing. So is it just? So before we go there, I want to say that we're 2.5 weeks out of the games. We've had both Danny and Laura, so Danny Spiegel, Laura Horvath, both training here, and they're hands down two of the best athletes in the sport.
Easy,
hands down. Like, it's insane how strong, how fit. It's crazy. Just watching them every day, how hungry they are to train, and how hard they train every day.
Yeah,
and their skills and abilities, it's off the charts.
Right.
So
and it's fun too. It's not like sometimes you get around some people who are really motivated, really focused, who aren't very fun. It's the opposite with them. It's you enjoy being around them. Like, their character is fun to be around. Their personality is fun to be around.
Brings out the best in you.
Oh yeah,
great people to have here at 100%. The gym. I mean, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
100% agree with that.
So back to speculation. I wanted to go back the question. What are the reasonings behind why these articles come out, or somebody would want to talk about it? Because it seems like people are talking about a lot of things that they don't really hold any water. Like, if you look at them, like, they're clickbait titles, or they're titles that are going to draw attention, but there's nothing, like, there's no substance behind them. And I feel like if you should be reporting on something, if you're reporting on something, it should be something that has some value behind it. Like, there's some statistics behind it, or there's some rationale or reason. It doesn't seem like that.
Yeah. Fantasy football season's coming up. You don't play fantasy football. I really like fantasy football. This is about the time when you start seeing all the fantasy football articles, the 5 players to avoid, the 3 busts of every league, the top 10 that you have to have, or whatever. All those people, when they get on those videos, are pointing at statistics, like sheer numbers. Let me show you the efficiency of this offensive line, to the quarterback play, to the points scored last year, to the points scored 2 years ago. And it's just metrics. I mean, straight analytics, and you get pretty good info, and you get to decide whether or not you think the analytics are, going to play out. Like, I can see those numbers repeating again, right? That this isn't an exception, that it's actually a pattern, and these dudes are going to perform again. It's going to give my team the best chance to go. When I think about the previous CrossFit season or 2 seasons or 3 seasons or greatest of all time or whatever it is, it's usually an analytical argument on my part where I'm going to focus on numbers, previous, past, current, and go from there.
Yeah, and that's funny because I'd probably come about it. I would come about it in a way that's slightly analytical in that sense, like with statistics and numbers and everything, but there's this component that you can't quite put into numbers.
Okay.
And that's the component that I'm interested in.
Right.
It's like that's what gets my attention. And that's what I think they're playing on when they write articles like this.
Right. So, and they're trying to say...
That's all they're playing on. Like, there's no analytical side of it.
They're only playing on, we'll call it the it factor, the eye test, maybe.
Sure.
What do you think it is, if it's not those two things, or do you think it's...
Yeah, so I don't want to...
Can you name it?
Can I name it? No. I mean, I don't want to offend any athletes either when I say anything. Like, I'm not trying to...
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just trying to talk about it because I think I feel like we should just sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
But like for me, when you have an athlete that's maybe has never even been to the games in some cases, or has been to the games once or twice or whatever, like until they've proved themselves at the games, I don't think they should be considered a main contender for the competition. For the games specifically, because if we look at it, the games is what we're using to measure. The games is what the athletes are there to compete with. The games aren't the open and the regionals. Like the open and the regionals really don't matter.
Right.
The games is where you're going to put all your chips into the games, and that's where you want to perform well. That's what your legacy is cemented in history with. Like that's what people should be looking at. Just because someone won an open or won a games or won a regionals, it doesn't matter. Like that's not how I'm going to judge their games performance, because the games is something different, and it should be something different, and it shouldn't represent the open and the regionals. Like it should be something wholly different than the first 2 stages.
Right. So is that void of, do you leave that out when you are trying to make this new assessment at the games? Do you leave this year's open performance and regional performance out?
No, like you said, I think there's definitely an analytical component to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is it, and I don't think you can base who you think is going to do well at the games solely off of the open and the regionals.
Right.
It can factor in.
Right.
But like if you haven't been to the games and you have not performed, let's say on the podium or top 5 even, like podium I think is better because it's so different than just top 5. Like just being on the podium is different.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done that, I don't care who you are.
Right.
Like then after that, then you can start talking about, could this athlete beat this athlete or whatever. You can start your speculation process after that. And it's like people, for some reason, have overlooked Laura again, like this past year.
Right.
She finished second. They overlooked her that year. And I feel like they're doing the same thing this year.
Yeah.
So far.
Right.
Could be completely wrong. Could get to the games and she could be the one that everybody's expecting to do well. But I don't think that's the case.
No chatter.
It doesn't sound like that already.
There's certainly no chatter about it right now.
So I'm wondering what's that? What is that? Where does that come from?
The first thing I wanted to ask you is this.
And you guys are missing it.
You were uninterested with camera attention, it seemed like, throughout your career. That it wasn't like the thing like, hey, put me in front of a camera, let me talk, come follow me around, spend all day, every day with me, let me entertain you on my way to CrossFit Games wins and podiums. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I was more in it for I was in it for different reasons than that.
All right. And do you think that the CrossFit Games athletes potential podium finishers need to be more of that way to garner attention? Like, is there something where you have to garner this attention and then steward it to then remain in it or something? Because
the only job of an athlete is to compete at the CrossFit Games. Like, that is my mindset when I'm doing what I'm doing on a daily basis. I'm not thinking about how am I going to get attention online.
Right.
I'm not thinking about who's going to interview me or whatever. Like,
right.
You're thinking about competing, and that's it. Honestly, if you're thinking about all those other things, it's going to like get in the way.
100%.
So I think every athlete would agree with that. Like, that's what you should be focused on. But then it comes down to the storytelling aspect of the games and what these writers and producers of the people that are following the athletes around want to talk about.
Right.
It's like you have to have them kind of be on the same level as the athletes, or you have to have them look at the things that the athletes value. Like, what do the athletes value and why do the athletes value it, rather than, oh, I think this is a good story, therefore I'm going to follow this person around.
Right. This is a really good idea. The way that the Formula One show works is, have you watched it yet? It's really good. You should watch it.
You told me about it last time. I've been watching the terminal list.
I'm going to watch that next. We'll flip-flop. But anyways, this is what I'm saying. There's 10 episodes in a season. They follow each team throughout the season. There's 10 teams. And you get an hour-long shot of each team, and it covers the whole season. So it's and they have flashbacks, flash forwards, all those sorts of things. But the point is, if you get it garners like a different spirit when you're watching, right? Like you're really, really, really intrigued with how each individual athlete, each individual drivers fight, each individual teams fight, like how their camp is going, how their car is, and it's just so much that goes into what makes it what it is. It would be interesting to me if like you put, you did the same thing with CrossFit, right? You put at a gym, right? You got competitors at this gym, competitors at that gym, and you just essentially follow camps, right? And at the end of the year, at the end of the season, you get to see the whole season
of the athlete that
did well, right?
Okay.
And you're going to see that, and they're going to be able, if you filmed it the whole time, you're going to be able to go back and really plug and play, really edit, really draw out.
You can make a story.
Really find the story. You're gonna, and you're
because
gonna
there's a story in every athlete. Right?
There's a story. Everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a story. Every gym has a story. Every team has a story. Every athlete has a story. People want to know what you're watching or whatever it is. And when you come back to this, like, how is this happening again? But it's been 10 years of happening, though. Like, the other person that I think has this happen is that Iceland dude that continues to podium like every other year. BKG,
dude, one of the best athletes out there.
Yes, dude.
The most or the one that's talked about one of the least.
Yes,
and it's crazy.
It's not like he gets zero respect,
consistent,
but
yeah,
like nobody's ever like top 5 reasons why BKG has a chance to win this year or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, same. It's something. There's something there also with the mindset, like we were talking about. Like they're solely focused on what they're doing,
right?
And it's maybe difficult to tell that story or something like that.
And this is the reason I bring this up. The drivers, there's a lot. There's like 2 or 3 drivers in the show who are good on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who you see?
Those guys.
Then guess who's winning, or like people that are winning races, not dominating, but ever like a lot of people that are winning races are just head down in the shadows.
Yeah.
Like one dude's quote was like, I lurk in the shadows and then I come out and shine on race day. And I return to the shadows.
There's a source of strength there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I get that.
Right.
And I think that's what Laura gets too.
She is a monster. I came in the other day, you were doing some farmer's carry workout on the turf, and then she would come in and she would float. She was just floating on bar muscle ups. I'm like, oh my goodness. She has like a half glide kit, half traditional kit, and it works perfect. What do you think makes her special?
Her mindset. I mean, that's the biggest intangible thing that's difficult to describe, like difficult to put a number on. Like that I've said before, that all the athletes at the games are gifted. They're all talented. They're all super fit. They're all really strong. here and there they might have a weakness, but the biggest thing that one athlete might have over another is their mindset.
Do you think that people, the hot take people, think Laura has too many weaknesses or something for them not to take her serious?
I don't know. Right.
How could that be possible? Analytically, that can't be possible, but do you think that's... Have you seen that anywhere?
No. In commentators, maybe, but I haven't seen it in anybody that's writing articles or doing posts or things like that. I just think nobody's talking about Laura, and I think that she has the best chance to beat Tia.
I don't see... I mean, yeah, I think that's the case. I really don't know why anybody would think otherwise.
And I've believed that, I guess, since she first showed up and got second in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
But then this year, after training with her for the last... getting crushed by her for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
She's on another level. Like, from this year to the previous year.
For real.
Like, on another level. Like, I can barely beat her in anything. Like, anything. I'll choose the thing that I'm the best at, and she might be, the quote-unquote, the worst at.
Right.
She beat me the other day. And I'm like, all right.
Oh, no.
She's faster than me in the pool now. So I'm
no.
like, when we have,
swimmer.
yeah. So she's been beating me with fins.
Holy smokes.
I can still take her a little bit without the fins, but cause I get a little
that's
more
good.
pull.
You're a very good swimmer. That's really, really. That's
but
cool.
she's like across the board, like a head and shoulders above where she was last year.
Yeah, I was here the other day. She was like, "Hey, you want to come swim?" I was like, "No, no. Not at all." But actually, I really do like. It's my favorite of the things I hate doing the most. She
and I use swimming as an example because last year I was beating her at swimming.
Right, dominating. Like you could even go back to look like her last year's performance, right? Just silent, just deadly, dominating. And it gets overlooked. So Tia's performance last year, she scored 1,435 points out of 1,500.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's absurd.
Insane.
That's like straight absurd. Laura put up the second best numbers, like total score from a CrossFit Games competition last year too. Laura's score last year beats any previous CrossFit Games champions score ever. To give you an idea, when Katrin went back to back, she only scored 700 points in the 700 range both times. Laura almost broke 1,200 points last season and got second. That's nuts. Here's another little fun bit of analytics for you. The top 5 female performances at the games. Number 1 is Tia from last year. Number 2 is Laura from last year. Number 3 is Annie from last year. The best 3 performances ever came last year, point-wise. Then the 4th best total score is Laura's 2018 score. And then the 5th best score is one of Tia's championship years.
So let me just take that statistic, that statistic, for all you people online that like to use statistics to make arguments.
Right.
Just that one makes the point that Laura's the best pick for the contender for the games win.
Yes.
It's not being talked about.
Hands down.
Yeah.
It's absurd to overlook that. I don't know how you could overlook her last performance. Like, even if you're going to write an article, you're like, you know what? I'm going to write about an outlier. Okay, cool. But would you write about the outliers as contenders? Like, you wouldn't write that article as this person is about to enter this and contend. You're writing that article from a different take. Hey, let's highlight some of these new people in the new arena and essentially say, let's watch what they do. Keep your eyes out. Make sure that
that's
even if
point.
they're not getting, if they're,
just in case they finish second in their first year,
right?
And then come back 3 years later and finish second again. Then you can, just in case,
which is,
and something like that might happen. Then you might look at the athlete like, oh, you have a chance to win,
Right.
But doing that before that makes absolutely no sense to me. Yeah, like
right.
doing
Unless, all right, yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, give me a world in which that's okay.
No, the only world in which that's okay is the one in which we live in right now, where it's where your attention is being dominated by things like that are hot takes. You know, just headlines. It is what it is. Like, I get it. I try and contend with it personally. That's another, like, I wanted to say, like, do we need to sit down and say to the world, like, hey, this is the Coach's Office. This is the Coach's Office podcast. And we actually want to look at the world through and then come up with a lens in which we're trying to bring people into our brains, because we have like this weird connected consciousness that is that might not be good for podcasting. Sometimes we don't disagree enough or something like that. I don't know. However, but it's like philosophy and religion and CrossFit, and not like, for instance, Savan is doing this phenomenal job of like intertwining a couple of things into his podcast, but he's really interviewing. He's going out and he's getting stories and it's interviewing people, and he does it so well, right? And he is who he is, and he's unapologetic, and it's really fun for the people that watch it. I believe they're going there for a reason, because they enjoy listening to everybody on the podcast. The other two guys are great too. And then I was like, man, what do I think this is? Whatever. I'm like, well, it's always like a couple layers in, like past the.
Yeah, I'm always trying to describe what it is that we're exactly talking about, but it's like you said, we're a couple points past it already.
Yeah.
Like when we start talking about this, we're already into somewhere that we have to describe where we came from.
Because it's a little bit of like, I feel like I'm lumping everybody. Like, I put people in a certain place. I'm like, if you're writing articles about rookies winning the games, it's weird. It's almost like I shouldn't trust your opinion.
I'm totally, I agree.
Type of thing. You know, like
I agree completely. Like, even if you say, oh, they're just doing it for clicks.
Right.
I'm like, all right, well, still I don't know that I'm going to read the next article that you put out.
And that's why I brought
personally
up the philosophy part of this, where it's like deep thinking into why you're doing what you're doing, which is what CrossFit is, which is coming back to like why it was so hard to, you know, say like, hey, just flood this space with money and let it become this thing or that thing. And it's like, no, actually inherently, like in its bones, in its DNA, it's actually antithetical to all of those things. Like, it's meant to be the antidote to the chaos of the world. That's and not in a Christian sense, not in like, hey, we know the way, the truth, and the life, right? Like, that is a very real take. Like, the Christian take is a very real take, and you can find it in CrossFit. They've found it long ago, even in the old CrossFit document and on the CrossFit YouTube page. If you haven't seen this, go and look at CrossFit as Church, right? And they went to Harvard, and they went to Harvard Divinity School, and then they had a good debate. And that's not me saying CrossFit is church. Don't hear that. Go watch the video and see this. They were exploring this a long time ago, and the more it moves into the space, the more you realize that this thing, it's meant to transcend. It's meant to say, care about things that you actually aren't being taught to care about, or it's not being revealed to you.
Yeah, it helps you figure out what reality is, like what things are.
Yeah. So for instance,
and that's why it bothers me when somebody writes something like this.
Yes. It bothers me a ton. Give some. Do you? What do you think is most impressive? What has impressed you most currently with Laura's transition from last year to this year? Oh, there she goes. Laura, come in.
That's all we're going to get.
Dang it. We have donuts.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock. What is your question?
You've seen drastic improvements from last year to this year.
Yeah.
And last year's Laura put up the second best performance of all time.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you're noticing? Why should people pay attention? Listen.
People don't have to pay attention.
Pay attention. You're doing yourselves a disservice if you don't see what's coming. It's a problem. Don't be fooled. Don't be tricked. You don't want to be tricked. You should care about, if you care about CrossFit, you care about this competitive side, you shouldn't catch yourself saying something like, this person put up the most beige performance of all time. F you. Are you kidding me? The second best games performance of all time, you described it as beige?
Seriously. The worst article ever.
Like,
I mean,
how is this?
What are you thinking?
Yeah.
It's baffling.
I'm upset for her in this, even though I know she's not upset.
Yeah.
But, like, before you go train, when you observe excellence, because you get to train with really, really good people, and you've got to train with really good people for a very, very, very long time, you're seeing things that I can't even begin to try and describe.
And I'm trying to describe them, and I'm not doing a very good job. When I say she's on a whole nother level, like that is everything combined into one. It's not just like she's physically prepared, but mentally she's prepared as well. Like she's able to push herself really, really, really far, and she has the physical capacity to back that mental strength up. You know, like they're both up to speed. It's not like one is lagging behind the other.
Right.
And that lag might create some sort of gap or hole, or like the athlete might question their abilities or something like that. Mm-hmm. None of that exists right now. Mm-hmm. Like if I could take her right now and just freeze her where she is and then put her into the games in 3 weeks, like she's ready.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's all we're doing right now is we're just, you know, continue to plug away, work things that we can work, but she's ready to go like right now.
Right.
So I'm excited to watch. I think everybody should be paying attention. I don't think people are paying attention, so I wanted to do this podcast with you.
I don't understand how people aren't paying attention. And because it popped up like over the course of the last like 3 days, I saw, you know, sort of, you know, one article, two article, one video, another video. I was like, wait, what are these?
Yeah,
what are you observing?
You guys are like all the way over here, and that's not reality at all.
Right.
Like, and this is a good point. Like with CrossFit, you're trying to find the truth. You're trying to figure out what works practically in the gym every day. How can I orient my mindset to make the most of whatever I have? Yes. To make myself fit, healthy, whatever, all in one. And it's like, that's not really what the world tells you is the best thing to do.
Oh, no.
But CrossFit shares that, and it's like, I want to talk about the things that I think are reality here on the podcast.
Right. I believe that she will win this year. And that's not a hot take. Like, that's like a deep-seated belief. And I'm really, really, really excited to watch. Like, really excited. Mm-hmm. You can just see it. It's brewing. It's welling. It's like the storm is coming.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, that's the thing. It's like, hey, we're just letting you guys know. It looks like there's going to be a hurricane on its way. Like, get ready. And then, from my observation, the majority of people in the space talking CrossFit think that it's like sunshine and, you know, clear skies. It's like, you're missing it. We're trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. But once again, I'm a nobody. So luckily you're saying it. But
yeah. This podcast will be here in 3 weeks.
It's on its way.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait.
Actually, give the people what they want. Do you know what you guys are doing today?
We're going to go write it up. I don't know yet. I have an idea.
You always have an idea. This Joker, just to let you all know, he keeps his cards close to his chest intentionally. He just says, I don't know what we're doing today. He knows exactly what they're doing today. It might not be the specific number, but it's the number range is in his mind. The movement is in his mind. He knows what he's trying to accomplish. Actually, there's the best. This is a Ben Smith question for you guys. Here you go. What are you trying to accomplish today?
I think we're going to do some, all I can say is we're going to do some shorter couplets probably.
Why?
Well, she's been doing a lot of endurance training. So whenever we can get together and get in like a competitive environment and throw down the couplets and really push each other in the intensity, we like to do that once or twice a week. Like today's the day. So it's Friday. We normally like to start out with something like that, but
Let's get it.
I don't know. People can follow all our programming too, so put it all
For
online.
real?
Yeah. So we're gonna go train now.
Peace.